Welcome back, basketball fans. Chris here with dailyfantasysportsrankings.com. That's DFSR.com for short. What I wanted to do here today was just kind of go over a little bit of a tutorial of the website as well, mostly concentrating on our DFS NBA player lab as well as our betting tool or some things that I want to run over today. Had a bunch of questions in chat, decided to put a quick video together for you. If you have any questions following this or anything else you want me to cover, definitely reach out in our members chat room. As well as on Twitter at DailyFantasySR, or myself at Jaeger_bombs9. And I can either make up a quick video or help you out in chat, in a private DM, some one-on-one coaching, whatever it may take. I'm here to help. All right, so let's dig in. Right here, what you see, this is the DFSR website. To navigate through this, what you're going to see on the daily basis is our articles. You scroll down a little bit here, you're going to see our NBA articles. Football, which is coming to an end here shortly. That will turn into baseball as well. NASCAR. We've got PGA up here as well. So you can click on any of those and read today's article. Now, if you're looking to sign up or grab a free trial, if you click on the player lab here, you click on any of our tools at the top. We cover projections and optimizer for NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, and PGA. If you click on any of those tools, it's also going to take you to the sales page. What you can do is you can start your free trial up here. Our pro package is $29.95 a month. That gets you access to each one of those sports. It's one price for all of those sports, projections, optimizer, all the tools, as well as my own personal cheat sheets that I provide. You can find that by going up to the top under other sports and Chris's DFS sheets. By going and looking there, I've got sheets that cover anything from PGA, NBA, NHL, NFL, college football and basketball, NASCAR, all three series, UFC, MLB, League of Legends at times. There's a lot going on in terms of my cheat sheets, and that is all for $29.95 a month. We've also got another deal out right now. One-time deal, $99 for the next 5 months. That's a $50 in savings. You're going to pay about $150 paying the monthly fee on that. So not only you can get in, you can grab your free 7-day trial, try us out, and then you can jump on board the $50 discount by signing up for the next 5 months. All right, with that, let's jump into the tools. We'll get rid of all the rest of this stuff here. So this is the general look what you're going to see when you get into the NBA tool each day. You're going to choose your site and your slate, whether you're playing Yahoo, DraftKings, or FanDuel. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to concentrate on DraftKings and FanDuel. You've got the classic slate. You've got the showdowns. Here are the games for the showdowns, but we're going to look at the classic for tonight. Main slate, here's all your slates, the turbo, the other turbo on DraftKings. There's lots of turbos here tonight. Huge 13-game slate. Games down here on the side. So one thing that you can do, we're going to start talking about filters here because there are a ton of them. So one thing that you can do, deselect all games. If there's only a certain amount of games in this 13-game slate that you want to concentrate on, you can click on the game. It's going to highlight it in blue. Only players from those 2 games are going to show up in the player pool. So you can go through and you can select the games that you want. You can select the individual teams in those games that you want, like this. So what some people will do is this is now all games are in the player pool. They will start eliminating teams that they don't want. Okay, we don't want Orlando tonight. Maybe we don't want Philly Orlando at all as a game because it looks like it's a blowout on a giant slate. So we'll maybe avoid that. We'll maybe avoid all these double-digit games. This is something that I will do to kind of maybe avoid some of those blowouts on these bigger slates. So right there, I've eliminated 3 games, 6 teams from the player pool. So that's one way you can go ahead and use our filters. Let's reset that. So all games are on here. Another way you can go ahead and do this, some filters here. These are the main ones. I'm only going to discuss the main ones that I'm using on each and every day. I will maybe do some videos with some advanced filters using the Player Lab integration this season in some later videos. But I want to keep this fairly short, 10 to 15 minutes, to kind of give you an overview of how to build lineups. So first things first, before we go any further, these projections that you see here, for the most part, are going to be, let's call them a safe projection, a floor projection based mainly for cash games. So what you're going to see if you just come in here, let's just go over to FanDuel tool. Let's go to the main slate just because we don't have to lock anyone in. Whereas DraftKings, you have to either lock 2 players in or lock 1 player and X a player. You have to make those moves. That's just the law with DraftKings and their rules, the way they have it set up. So over here in FanDuel, if we just go and create a lineup, what you're going to see is depending on how many lineups you chose up here in the top right corner, you can build anywhere from 1 to 50 lineups using our tool. So what you're going to see if you just click optimize right away, this is going to be lineup number 1 is our highest projected lineup using the algorithm today. Now, there's a lot of auditing that goes on throughout the day, so these are going to change constantly, and they're going to change. What you're going to want to do is pay attention, especially in that last 30 minutes leading up to lineup lock when most of the news comes out, because you will find, especially this season with COVID and everything, as players go out, there are tons of minimum priced to very low priced players that become huge values and locks in lineups just with that late news. And if you don't have them, you may miss, 50-60% chalk player who's going to return 5, 6, 7, even sometimes up to 8 to 10x return. You're pretty much done. So very important this season just to pay attention. We do have our chat room. Either myself or Doug, the owner of the site, is going to be in chat. And on top of that, we have an amazing set of members, some of them that have been with us for 5, 6 years, as long as DFSR has been around. Very, very knowledgeable. NBA, I would say, is probably our #1 sport for member interaction. So make sure to get into that chat room as much and ask as many questions as possible. All right. So the first lineup that you see here, lineup number 1, we call it, in chat, we refer to it as FanDuel 1. This is FanDuel 2 and 3 and 4 and so on. Number 1 is going to be the highest optimized lineup. And best for cash games. So what most people will do on a night is for their cash games is just run FanDuel 1 or DK 1. Now, on DK, if you're looking to figure out, because like I said, you have to lock players in. So what I do is I like to go to utility, find out who the highest projected players are, and they're sorted here, all the players on the slate. And then I like to look at the value and see of those highest priced players, which is the player that we probably want to pay up for the most according to the projections. Or some people will just go in chat and say, okay, who's talking about who's saying who's a lock, and they'll lock a player in that way. For me, I like LeBron a lot tonight going up against Indy here. He is probable, but it doesn't really matter. You can choose whoever you want. Let's just say DeJounte Murray here. We're going to lock him in. So then what you can do, now that you've got your favorite player locked and you just want to find out what the cash lineup is going to be on any given night, before we get into any advanced GPP optimizations, is just scroll down as far as you can, find a player that's irrelevant. Doesn't really matter who. You have to come at any position. You got to do this at a position, not utility, sorry. So scroll down to the bottom, grab an irrelevant player and X him out. Hit optimize. Now, to confirm that you have the optimized DK1 lineup, find a player that's now in the lineups that's 100%, lock him in, unlock the original player you lock, and rerun those lineups. This is going to give you, so it puts Mike Conley in point guard, makes a lot of sense. So this is going to be our DK1 optimized lineup as of right now, which is about 12 p.m. Eastern time. Now, so that's going to be cash, and that's how we kind of run cash. Now, some people won't just use DK1 and FanDuel 1. They'll maybe want to make some more picks. So what you can do is just start going through the positions after you've done your research, after you've read our articles during the day, find some players that you like. Let's just go through here and actually find like Kyrie Irving. I like a lot. KD is going to be out, so Harden and Irving are going to be really popular. The projection on Irving is probably going to come up towards the end of the day, but let's go ahead and lock him in and just see how this changes things. So it now puts Kyrie in. So one thing, because I locked him in shooting guard, that doesn't necessarily mean that's where he's going to end up. The algorithm is automatically going to place, depending on the players that you've locked, unlocked, the player pool that you've selected, is automatically going to place that player in the most optimal spot to create the most projected points. So as you can see, I locked him in shooting guard. He shows up in point guard because that is the most optimal spot for him. That also takes Mike Conley out. Mike Conley now slides to 50%. So he's in 5 of the 10 lineups that we've created, and he shows up in DK2. So that leads us in. I'm just going to reset the page here so that our player pool resets, and we're going to get into a little bit of a GPP build now that we've talked about cash games and how we go about doing that. So you can run, I would always suggest whatever you run in cash games, whether you're running one lineup or maybe 2 lineups to hedge a little bit for cash, is always run those lineups in a GP, at least 1 GPP, make it a single entry if you have to, a 3 max, run it in 1 GPP just in case. We've seen it before where DK1 or FanDuel 1 massively outperforms its projection. shows up in top 5, 10 in a lot of big GPP contests at times, top 20, top 50 even is going to be a good profit. Doesn't always happen because, like I said, is going to be floor projection. So there's multiple things you can do now if you want to build GPP lineups. And I'm going to first start by going to the number of lineups and changing it to 50. We want to build 50 lineups. That's what we're telling us. Randomness is the next thing. So that's the first thing I want to go over here. So we're going to go over DraftKings here again. I'm going to lock in Murray. I'm going to go to shooting guard, lock in one of these irrelevant guys, and we're going to build 50 lineups. Takes a little bit longer now that we've got 50. But there's a lot of different filters here and ways that you can utilize the tools to build different lineups. It's not just as easy as hitting 50 lineups and hitting optimize, running these 50 lineups and expecting to win every night. We know that just doesn't work. You're going to get a lot of people, because our projections are going to be a lot of chalky guys most nights. You're likely not going to separate yourself from GPP, so you're going to have to make some adjustments. So we've got 50 lineups here. So the first thing that I want to show you is these red percentages beside of those 50 lineups. That is the percent that that player shows up in those lineups. So as you can see, Okongwu, I know I probably said that wrong, and Murray, Terrence Davis, they all show up in every one of the 50 lineups. First thing you can do to start playing around with those exposures, say to the guy that you don't want locked, is simply go up to Terrence. Let's go up to Terrence Davis. There he is there. Now, we only want him, let's say, in 60% of our lineup. So in this percent box, we're going to type in 60. We're going to rerun those lineups. Now, a large slate, we shouldn't have a problem like this. On smaller slates, 2-3 games sometimes, if you start limiting these exposures to some players in these builds, the optimizer won't be able to generate those lineups just simply because of pricing, the player pool that you've selected. It's just not able to calculate, especially if you're doing 50 lineups. This case, we have no problem. We now see Terrence Davis is down at 60%. We can do the same thing with any single player in our player pool to start limiting, because you're going to find with randomness set at 0 that your player pool is going to be very concentrated. It's going to be a much smaller player pool with randomness at 0. So what I'm going to do now is show you the difference in that. Let's take the randomness to 100. Now, what I want you to pay attention to, I actually want to take Terrence Davis off because he was at 100% before. So the randomness at 100, what I want you to pay attention to is the percent beside all these players. What this does is just gives you more random players in your player pool. So what the first thing that you notice here is these red percentages beside each player get a lot lower for all the players outside of the players in green that you have locked. That's because your player pool is now expanded, because you're adding more randomness to your player pool, so it's more players automatically show up in your player pool. So that's how that works. So again, if you were to put this at, say, randomness 50 in the middle, you're going to get, Trae Young probably in the 20 to 30% range. Now you're probably going to get Barton in the 30 to 40% range. Ingles, you start getting guys in the 20 to 40% range versus starting to mix in a lot of guys at 5, 6, sub 10% in your exposure. So that's another way that you can manipulate your player pools and play around with things. Now, if you, like I said, if you find that you like things, and this works very well on FanDuel, I'm going to jump over to that real quick because we don't have to lock players in. So I'm going to do 50 lineups. I'm going to go randomness at 0 because we want a small player pool. Now, what that can do, the other difference when you're entering these into contests, if you have a very small player pool, what you're going to see, say you watch on your phone and you can see all those little circles or whatever in your contest, and they're either way left or way right if you're cashing. What you see building the randomness at 0 is all your circles, when you start looking at that, are all going to be very close together because your lineup builds are all very close, minus, one change here or there, like 50 times. Versus if you have that randomness at 100, okay, so it's not able to build 50 here. I must have a filter in. Let's try this again while I'm explaining this over. Let's do 50 lineups again here. If you have the randomness at 100 and you look at those little circles on your phone when you're checking the DK app or the FanDuel app, you're going to see them much more spread out, where you could have, at the end of the night, you could have 5 or 6 of those 50 lineups like cashing really, really good at the front end of the contest. You could have 10 to 20 near the back end of the contest. Whereas with that randomness at 0, you're going to see, like I said, those circles much closer together, so that when your core does go off, you're going to see most of those little circles all to the right, versus if your core fails, 2 of your 4 players fail, something like that, they're all going to be to the left. So I'm having some trouble here building on FanDuel at the moment. I'm going to go and just lock in a couple players and see if we can maybe get it to start building, because that's what I was just simply going to show you, is how to actually, let's reset this one more time. And let's go to the FanDuel tool again. Let's go 20 lineups. See what that gives us. Next here, after I'm done going over these few more filters here, I'm going to talk the NBA betting tool and how I use it on a daily basis. Yeah, so we got 20 lineups on FanDuel. We didn't have to lock anyone in. There's no rules on FanDuel in terms of locking players in. Now we look at the exposures. We see Cade Cunningham at 100. The price is really low. Terrence Davis, Giannis, and Okongwu. I just got to find out if I'm saying that right. Either way, we've got 4 players at 100%. We're building 20 lineups. Maybe we don't want those 4 players in our lineups at 100%. So again, the biggest thing that you can do is just go start up here in the player pool, search the player that you're looking for. Cade Cunningham, say we only want him 40%. Terrence Davis. I really, really like Terrence Davis tonight, so I probably don't want to move him a whole bunch. If I spelled his name right, that would help. But let's go 60% on Davis. Let's go 60% on Giannis. And let's go at this time, let's just say 40% just to mix it up. So now that we put in our own custom exposures to those 4 players that are 100%, and you can do this for any player. If you don't want 85% of Portis within those 20 lineups, you can go and adjust that as well. But I just wanted to kind of go and I don't want a player locked into every one of my 20 lineups. So I just wanted to do a couple adjustments there just to see and show you how the tool goes. So now that's going to change, obviously. So the biggest thing that you're going to learn with optimizers is you're not just going to come in here, hit optimize every day and have a 50, 60% win rate. That's just the expectations. It's just not there. The more you put into something, the more you're going to get out. I was told this my entire life, and it's true across anything with life. So what we're going to have to do now, we've got those 4 players adjusted the way we want. Well, now we've got Bobby Portis, Kobe White, and Mike Conley at 100%. So now we would go in, and let's just go all, so it's a lot easier. Mike Conley, I'm fine at 70%. Who else did we say we had? Portis and Kobe White. So let's go to Portis. Let's just say we don't want Portis in our lineups. Let's say maybe he's injured, someone's coming back. Just want to give some scenarios here. So we X him out. We changed Mike Conley's. Now we got to go to Kobe White. Say we don't want Kobe White in our lineups either. We changed Mike Conley's exposure down a little bit. So now we put a lot of work into these filters. We ran FanDuel on 20 lineups. We adjusted the first 4 players that showed up 100%. And now we've adjusted the next set of players. So now we don't have any players in our lineups that are 100% with the randomness set at 0. So that's one way you can go about doing that. Tons of ways to use these filters, guys, and use these optimizers, ladies and gents. So if you have any questions, like I said, on the optimizer, please reach out to me in DM and chat. I don't always see the messages in the main members chat, so it is best to send me a DM, or you can DM us, like I said, on Twitter at Daily Fantasy SR or at Jaeger_bombs9. Before we finish things up here, I just wanted to go over the NBA betting tool. I've been using this since about Christmas. Wish I'd been using it all year because it has been excellent. So a couple things that we're looking at here. It does look at every single matchup on the night. It gives you implied total. Now, this implied total, this over-under, this money line, and this spread, those 4 columns are all pulled from Vegas. These are Vegas odds. I can't give you the exact sports book at the moment. I'm going to have to inquire with Doug, but these are your Vegas odds, very close. In general, it might even be an average of the top 5, 10 sports books, something like that. And then this is the DFSR system's projected team total, the DFSR system's projected game total. And then over here is the one that I've been using the most, is comparing the spread to the DFSR system's projected spread. Now, keep in mind, looking at this early in the day as we are right now, like I said, it's just after 12 p.m. Eastern time. This is going to change as we do audits throughout the day. So the best to lock in these odds, unless a player just got announced out or something like that, and before the books move, you want to jump in. But generally what I do is get a first look, maybe grab 3 or 4 games that I really like and want to monitor throughout the day. I'll go break those down using my sheet, using the tools, looking at the matchups, looking at everything possible, projected starting lineups, etc. And then I'll come back about 30 minutes to 60 minutes before the game starts to make sure audits have gone through, and then compare those numbers again and see where things have changed. So what I generally look for is like a 5-point gap is where I start wanting to dig in a little bit more. For instance, this is only about 4 points, but Philly is a -12 favorite at home versus the Magic. The system has them as a -15.8 favorite. So betting Orlando would be a good bet here, according to the system. Again, I like to look for spreads of 5 or more. One that stands out here right now, we've got Atlanta at home to Minnesota. They're -2.5 on most Vegas books. I think some right now are actually sitting at -3. Either way, the DFSR system right now, the betting tool, has them at -8.5. That's a spread of 6. That's a game I'm going to be monitoring throughout the day. Other ones that are showing up here, sometimes we even see, and this has been true, and I've been a chicken the last few days, is we see some where, say, a team is, I don't think we have one today as of right now. Oh, okay, here's one right here. So Houston and the Jazz, and this is obviously an error in the system right now. We're going to have some audits that will be coming through, but the Jazz are -13. The system has the Rockets at -7. So that's a 20-point difference there. Now, when I see this, and I mean, this one probably isn't right. I'm not going to follow this one. There's obviously an error here somewhere. But when I see this, usually it comes in games where there is a small spread. Let's say the Raptors +4 here, but the system has them, say, even at +2, +1, maybe even a slight minus. That means the system also likes them on the money line as well. So I've been a chicken the last few nights. The last few times I bet, and I don't bet every night. It has to stand out in the system for me to bet the game. So I'll see this, and I've bet the spread on those games, and it has been 100% correct on that, but I chickened out and didn't bet the money line. Missed out on some money, but again, I've just been testing this, like I said, not even a full month yet. And I believe from the bets that I have posted personally that I have been on since Christmas time for the NBA using the system, sitting at 15-9, something like 63% overall. I'm up like, I bet a unit per. I don't change my units, whether it's bigger or smaller. I haven't adjusted anything there. Just 1 unit each night, up about 4.8 units right now. So it's been profitable. I'd like to get up to the 70% range, even more, but anything over like 55 to 58% is profitable. You know, paying the rake to the books and stuff like that, provided you're not betting money lines of like -200, -250. When you're betting the spreads, you're getting the -110s, the +100s at times. The -118, I think, is the most rake that I've ended up paying on any of these spread bets on a nightly basis. So keep that in mind. Again, if you got more questions about the betting tool, reach out to us at Daily Fantasy SR or at Jaeger_bombs9 on Twitter or in chat. All right, everyone, that covers everything for this video. It ended up being about 25 minutes long here, but a lot of good information in here. Make sure to read it over. Comment below with anything you'd like covered in the future, anything that you liked in the video, and maybe some of your favorite plays. Shout out to DFSR.com and Doug. Make sure to go follow Doug Norrie on Twitter as well. He does a Brooklyn Nets podcast for any of you Nets fans out there, along with his buddy Adam. It is a terrific podcast and YouTube, whether you watch video or you listen on the podcast style. Go check that out. He is also the owner of DFSR.com and our main NBA expert. Make sure to reach out to him as well. Thanks a lot, everyone. Good luck tonight, and we'll talk to you in the future.